Well, hey y'all, welcome to Fixin the Garden. This is Georgia Zone 8B. We're about towards the end of our spring flush and are working toward our summer blooms. And so some of these perennials especially that will rebloom, I want to go ahead and cut those back so they'll flush out nice and strong and ready to go for the second part of the season. So I hope y'all will join me and I'll show y'all what it is we're doing and how you can do it in your garden. All right, so this is the upscale lavender taffeta bee balm or Monarda from Proven Winners. And as y'all can see, most of it has gone over and some of this here is splayed out. And so I'm going to do a correction or rejuvenation prune on some of it, and other parts of it we're just going to cut it back so that it'll reflush and be ready to go for the bees to enjoy again really soon. So we have it lining our swing walkway here. And we have it on the other side as well. This here is a little bit, it was a little bit further behind, so there's still a couple of blooms here or there that look pretty good, especially this back corner over here. So I may leave some of that. I'll just decide when I get to it. A lot of times I like to just take care of it all at the same time. That way I don't have to come back and do it again, and then it all reflushes hopefully about the same time as well. This Catmint will reflush. This is the pink Profusion Salvia. I'll definitely be cutting it back. All right, so there's a few tools that I would recommend to do this job. These are my Felco 2s. I'm going to start with those in this area because I want to make a more precise cut so that it looks a little bit neater. I don't want the garden at this point in time to look too disheveled because it's looking its best. Otherwise, I would be using these. These are the Felco 250s. I will use these on things like the Catmint and maybe the Salvia that has a more of just a mounding habit or a little small habit where it doesn't make that big of a difference, and it's easier and quicker to do it this way with a shear. All right, these that are splayed out, I'm actually going to cut pretty far down because they have some new growth at the bottom, and I just want to give them a chance to be more upright. And I'm just cutting right above a leaf node. And of course, the dead ones, I'm going ahead and cutting all the way at the bottom. Because, you know, bee balm is part of the mint family. It's got that square stem on it, which is also why it spreads like it does. This upscale lavender taffeta from Proven Winners really doesn't do too bad of a job at spreading. It definitely is easier to maintain. And we've been making this drift a little bit larger by coming back, dividing up our plants and just allowing them to fill in that way. This section back here that's on the Glow Pop Japanese holly, we're going to cut it in half and we'll just use it to fill in wherever we see some holes. That'll probably be our last time of getting to do that. And so hopefully our friends like bee balm, because we will then from here on out be sharing it more. It's a really great one to buy so that you can divide it. It also helps to do this because though this is a more resilient cultivar of bee balm, it still does struggle with powdery mildew towards the end of the season, especially if we get a lot of rain. So yeah, this plant is actually growing up in this holly. So definitely don't leave stuff like that till next season. You'll damage your evergreen. Whew, we are probably at about 70-80% humidity. So even though the temperatures are still close to 90, it just takes it out of you. Some of these, like I said, they're practically laid all the way over and they're really thin and spindly. I'm going ahead and cutting those really close to the bottom because even when I cut them, they're not standing back up. This clump is pushed over more than the other one was. And in here is a pecan tree. So I use this as a Fiskars tool. It's just a weeder. And it's really great at getting out tree saplings because I can stick it all the way down in the ground and try to loosen the dirt around the pecan that's causing the growth. And you wouldn't get to see this otherwise because it's literally right up through the middle of the plant. There's some snail activity in here, so maybe that's some of my problem too. Y'all, our yard is typically full of butterflies this time of year. And I probably haven't seen but 2 or 3. What does it look like in y'all's area? Are y'all seeing a decrease in any kind of pollinator, whether it be butterfly or bee or even birds? We have a ton of birds, so I'm assuming the birds have eaten a lot of the caterpillars maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm really surprised at how few butterflies we're experiencing this year. Of course, if you aren't worried about how it looks, like I said, the hedge trimmers would be so much quicker. But especially this clump here in the front, that looks really nice. And you can see where the ones that were laid over and splayed out are now sitting upright again. And this group back here is manageable enough for us to be able to move some of it. Ooh, y'all, it is some kind of steamy, and the gnats, they're getting me. So I just want to take y'all around and show y'all what all we did. I ended up taking a break because I got too hot earlier, and we got some lunch and ended up going and looking for some plants for a future project. And unfortunately, I didn't find what I was looking for, but I found some coleus. And so I'll show you the coleus that we put in. All of the bee balm, we moved around some of it that needed to get off of the glow pop Japanese holly that it was crowding out. We moved the sweet potato vine kind of up in front of the Baptisia. And let's see, oh, and we trimmed our cat's pajama nepeta. So it was what you would refer to as a Chelsea chop. It is that time of year in June. The 1st of June is when you do a Chelsea chop. Some of the other plants that we still need to do are the Profusion Salvias, so we'll be doing that next. So this is the right hand that we did of the swing, all of the bee balm here. We left one bloom. I didn't mean to do that. And the sweet potato vine was back here, and we moved it up so that it doesn't want to trail or vine into the Baptisia, and also for it to get a little bit more sun. It really likes a lot of sun, and it was getting quite a bit of shade from the Baptisia. And if you saw in previous post where I was talking about the Japanese holly being crowded out, you see now there's a decent amount of space. We will end up having to do that probably at the beginning of every season. We'll have to take that chunk, that same chunk of bee balm right here, and move it to a hole or give it to some friends. So like I said, we're wanting one continuous strip. And y'all, this area looks so much better right here where it was all splayed out. Our nepeta got a little bit of a haircut. And here's our coleus that we ended up picking up today. These in front are some of the seedlings that I planted. One got dug up from the squirrels or whatever we're having problems with. And so I was really wanting to fill this area in with these very mature, great looking coleus that I got from a local grower. They were closing down for the season and had some really great prices. And she had 3 of these. And so we were wanting to put the 3rd one over here somewhere, but the maple tree roots are just, they're really hard to plant around. So we planted one in here and back there. We had a hole back there and we decided to put it in there. It'll be really a bright spot for these really dark evergreens that are back here. I don't know the variety of the coleus. She didn't have a tag in the pot. Like it's super humid and hot, and so this video of cutback's going to be over multiple days, but I wanted to show y'all that what we're working on today. It's going to be this pink Profusion Salvia. As you can see, most of it is spent, and it doesn't look that great when it's spent. And I have found that the foliage, it won't really maintain its luster throughout the season, so I'm going to give it a pretty hard cutback so we can get fresh foliage, and it'll allow me to get in there and see if we have any snail and slug, which is a problem for this plant. As you can see, our rose standard has a sucker growing from the bottom, so I want to cut that back, and I'm going to deadhead in the back the penstemon. All I did was use these Felco 250, these manual hedge trimmers, and just pretty much lopped everything off. And it doesn't look pretty, but you know that the end result will look really nice. I wanted to tell y'all, if you've been watching along with me, then you know that we switched from pine straw mulch to this soil conditioner for mulch. And I tell you, one of the good things is going to be this. Number one, having all these perennials and cutting them back, it makes it a lot easier for cleanup. Typically with pine straw, when you go to reach down to get your clippings to pick them up, you would get probably half the pine straw that was around your plants and just end up having to waste it or take a lot of time sifting through it. So I was able to clean up really quickly. But the second thing is, y'all know that this rose standard above us has a black spot really bad and looks terrible. Well, one of the things that it's doing is it's, of course, dropping its leaves. So I need to get all that cleaned up really well. So I'm going to use this little rake here. And because we have soil conditioner instead of pine straw, I'm going to be able to get a lot more of those infected leaves picked up and disposed of so they don't continue to spread the fungus. I still feel like I could clean up a little bit in this area with the dead leaves. The penstemon back here is cut back. I think everything's looking really good. Keep an eye on this Veronica, it won't be long. So this one is pretty close to needing to get cut back and so it can start over again. Again, these plants, the Veronica and the Salvia, these are rebloomers. You don't have to cut them back in order for them to continue to bloom. All right, here we are at our gripping of Pugster Amethyst butterfly bush. Y'all, this is probably one of my favorite things to deadhead. I don't know why. I kind of can like zone out and just kind of, I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I think everybody has their favorite garden chore that they have, and mine is deadheading. And so, especially this kind of deadheading where I'm being real precise. So all of these, I'm gonna come in and cut back. But if you'll see, on either side of that bloom is 2 new ones. These plants, they got attacked by bugs. In particularly stink bug last year. It's really stunted their growth, so some of the leaves are really close together. So we're kind of babying it along this year and see how they do. You know, it may be one of those things that we have to pull them out if they can't seem to recover. This is probably my favorite out of all the Pugster series. I really like the way that the bloom does. So let's get to it. In case you were wondering how to deadhead, maybe you have never done that before and you're a beginning gardener, I want to show y'all really quick how to do that. So what we're going to do is you go to one of the spent blooms, and as you can see, I can cut right here. And beside it will be new growth. So we're going to go right here, And you can see the new growth is already starting beside it right there. So you want to make sure that you don't cut that stem. Oops, sorry. And make sure that you don't cut that stem. Cut right in between. On either side of it, you can see the new buds, which is why you don't have to deadhead. If we didn't cut that, those new buds would still form. It would just leave the dead growth would stay on there. All right, we're gonna do one more over here. And it's just really that easy. So I hope you can see why I enjoy doing it. It's pretty easy to do. And the plant's gonna look a lot better when you get done. All right, so there we go. It was a really quick process. Let me tell y'all, if you end up cutting off a little bit more than you realized on a stem, don't worry about it. It will continue to put on blooms. You may just have to wait a little bit longer. So this is a great beginner plant because it's really forgiving, and the nice square stems that butterfly bushes have make it really easy to cut. I wanted to show y'all one more thing when caring for butterfly bushes. At least mine, this is what they kind of do, is they look great from the front. But let me show y'all down in there. They get really raggedy looking, and I'm not sure why ours does this. I'm just guessing it's a sun issue because there is quite a bit of shade here sometimes. So I go ahead and I come over here and just kind of brush it off. All right, y'all, look, that is a lot of debris and decaying matter that's just sitting on your plant that you want to make sure you get off. It attracts bugs and it just looks unsightly. So we'll clean that up. And I did this last year, and immediately new growth started kind of popping up all over the plant. So I'm hoping that'll happen again. All right, this is Salvia or red hot poker. The variety is hot and cold. And what you do with Salvia is it's really easy to deadhead. As you can see, these have fully bloomed out. And then you look down in the plant, and there is a new bud happening. So you find the one that is all done out, and we've got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And you just go all the way to the bottom here, and you're gonna cut as far down as you can get. You're just gonna cut it. All right, and when you get done, you can't even tell anything was done other than it looks a little bit cleaner. And you'll just keep seeing new blooms popping right up and replacing those that are already spent. This is the dark purple Veronica that we got, and it is already bloomed out. So we're gonna cut these blooms that are spent back. And this one's very similar. A lot of the plants that you have are gonna be growing this V shape. So if you look right here, like those are new buds. So you're gonna cut, you're gonna cut just above that, which will take this big piece off from the tip. All right, and that ends our end of spring cutback, or our Chelsea chop. Y'all, we ended up cutting back our Baptisia that was back here, and yes, those look a lot different than what they did, but we're gonna be so glad that we did that come the end of the season, because they won't be so flopped over, and it won't take any time at all for them to grow back to their beautiful, glorious selves that they typically are. So anyways, I hope this video helped you, especially if you are new to gardening. Y'all, don't be afraid to get in there and cut your plants back. You're not gonna hurt them, and you will really appreciate it come fall time when you don't have really floppy, gangly looking plants. So I hope we'll see y'all real soon.